What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the No Hope Podcast, where we want the world to know that there is hope. This is my beautiful wife, Katie Faye.
Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to episode 12. We are so happy that you're here. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. You know, one of the things that we haven't been doing that we used to do in our first couple of episodes is we were talking about our fit.
Oh, and yeah, what we're wearing.
We haven't done that for like 5 episodes.
Whoops.
So I have on the See What You Can't, No Idea trucker hat, and it's the fitted one, right?
Yes.
And then one of our No Idea See What You Can't t-shirts. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wearing our Redeemed crew neck. And then I'm also wearing a fitted No Hope trucker hat. These hats are so comfy.
Aren't they?
They're nice because they're like breathable in the back, which I really like. Because sometimes like my head gets hot and itchy, but not when I wear these ones. So
yeah, that's awesome. So we have an incredible show today, episode number 12, which is so crazy. So anyways, so what we're going to do is we pick a couple topics. Katie picks out 3, I pick out 3, and then we just have a great conversation. And we'll get right into it. So we like to start with a little Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors.
To see who goes first, of course. So
and the winner goes first.
Yes.
Okay, ready?
Here you go, ready?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh!
Like, get out of my head.
Okay, so the first topic that I wanted to talk about today is I wanted to speak about how all things work out for the good for those who love God. And some of the craziest events have happened, I mean, in general, right? 100 years ago, 200 years ago. I mean, we have so many crazy events that have happened and crazy events that are going to happen in the future. And sometimes we can be uncertain about what's going to happen in the future, and we can have all this fear and this worry consume us. And so one of the things I was thinking about is how I'm so grateful that my trust is in God and knowing that all things are going to work out for the good. And it's just kind of one of those things I wanted to encourage people. If there is a lot of uncertainty or fear, know that our God is certain and he's going to protect you no matter what.
I love that. I think that's so huge, and really holding on to that promise, because whether you have anxiety or fear from like if you've made past mistakes or something like that, if you have these like anxieties for the future, I think it's really cool to hold on to those different promises of God that help you to rest and be at peace, when sometimes our mind can be our worst enemy. It's not the enemies outside of us. Sometimes it's the enemy between our ears that kind of just attacks us. And I've definitely found that when I lean into those promises of God, like truly knowing that all things work out for those who love God, like all things. It's not some things, it's all things. And I think that's such a beautiful promise to hold on to. So I think for the thing that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to really piggyback on what you said, because I feel like right now in the world, because we are in the age of information and we're constantly receiving different news. I was talking to my mother-in-law, and it's like kind of like a fire hose of all these different things that are like coming at us all the time. You know, you have these flights going down everywhere. You have this happening at the border. And it's like, oh my God, it really can become all consuming. And I feel like for me that God is like calling me into like a deep state of prayer in all situations, right? So like when you're on the airplane, praying for everyone that's on, I've always done this, but truly just like really taking on your prayer life to the next level for everyone around you and in all situations.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And another thing too that I wanted to share. So the other night we had like a family game night, and it was awesome. My parents came up from Florida to visit, and we were playing the game of life, right? And my dad, he kept like, you can go to college or you can go get a career. And he went to college, and then he would roll just the right amount of dice or the wrong amount of dice to land on something that takes him all the way back to the beginning, right? And so he kept getting knocked back. I mean, like 4 times in a row. But what happened was he was able to go back through college a couple times, and he got it to the point where he was making $56,000 every single payday when he crossed a payday. And so I just thought about it at the end of the game. I thought, wow, my dad ended up winning the game of life. But at the beginning, probably nobody would have bet on him, right? They would have been like, no.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was going to win. I mean, he got 11 spaces in and
Yeah.
was right back to the beginning like 5 times.
But it just made me think about how in life we can get knocked back, and we think that we're losing, or we think that we're set back, but it could just be the opposite. You know, I wrote down a couple different things, like every setback prepares us for a more glorious comeback. And it's so true. And sometimes the things that we resist often shape us into who we're meant to become. And so another thing I wanted to talk about is our perspective and how powerful that is. Instead of seeing, oh man, I got held back, or I'm knocked back, or whatever, we see it in a different perspective of saying, hey, this is preparing me so that when that door does open, I'm prepared and I'm equipped.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so easy to compare ourselves to other people. You know, like, oh, well, they're doing this and they're that certain age, or this or that. And I think that changing your perspective truly on that, and knowing that your timing is perfect, that your path is perfect, like everything that's placed before you, maybe instead of thinking like, oh my God, I messed up so many times, having the perspective of like, oh no, actually God knew that was going to happen beforehand. And I'm learning every step of the way, and I'm being prepared for something good every step of the way. And maybe if I didn't get something, God was protecting me in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And
very true.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then is it your turn for the next topic?
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to,
Okay.
So our Johnny's parents came up from Florida to visit us, and I wanted to really talk about parenting and becoming a parent and our children, and how it totally is a perspective shift. At least it was for us. I'll never forget the night we brought Jude home from the hospital. Johnny and I were just truly overtaken with just like the emotion of how much our parents have loved us, how they took care of us and like, you know, raised us and sacrificed for us and did so many things. Like we were just like a mess from it, because you have this like mind opening experience when you have a kid, I think. And it just brings me so much gratitude to think about that. And it makes me think about our family line and how we have the opportunity to shape and mold our next generation by how we parent and by how we lead our kids. And we can become generational curse breakers, or we just kind of keep the pattern of maybe toxic things that have been passed down. And I feel like also, I'll let you say something about it, but that many times a lot of people, they want to think about the toxic things that their family has passed along to them. Like, oh, I'm trying to break that generational curse of toxicity or whatever, instead of thinking about all the really wonderful things. I guess that goes also into a perspective shift, but all of the wonderful things that our parents have done for us, like truly, like birthing a child, feeding them, raising. I mean, that first year is like a lot, you know, the first, like having the baby in your belly, it's a lot. And so really, I think it's important that we show our parents grace, and that we show them love, and we start to really embrace them. Because I think that once we start embracing our parents, it's just like, it cultivates this like really beautiful generational line.
Yeah, that's so true. And also to remember that your parents, they're figuring it out. You know, it's not like they knew what to do. Right. And so, remember like how much, and you can't really know what that love is like until you have a child of your own. And then it is like, you can imagine, you can think, but until that actually happens, it's like,
it's very, very eye-opening and humbling, because there's been so many things with Jude. I've just been like, we're working through this together.
we
This is
tell 'em
my
that.
first time doing this, and this is your first time doing this. So let's show each other like a lot of love and a
Yeah.
lot of grace. And if
Yep.
we put God at the center, we're going to be able to make it through.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Perspective is, it's powerful. I feel like if you master your mind, you can master your reality. And I was just talking to Katie about like, how cool would it be if like we were able to kind of change our perspective because, a positive mind, it finds opportunity in everything.
Yeah.
And while, the opposite, a negative mind finds fault in everything, right? And so we have both the good and evil, the love and fear. And so we're constantly given a choice every single day. Are we going to operate from a place of fear? Or are we going to operate from a place of love? And we're in control of that. And so for me, I want to be able to master, coming from a place of love all the time, including to myself when I get something wrong or I'm not as far along on a project or whatever it is to really kind of step back and look at the big picture and just operate from a place of love, especially in times of uncertainty,
Yeah, absolutely. And savoring every moment, regardless of where you're at in your season, because truly it's about the journey. It's not the destination. You hear all these people talk about that are in that successful space that is really, they look back and they loved the journey of getting there. And I like to say to Jude, it's like, okay, we have to wait 10 minutes. Are we going to wait in joy? Are we going to be happy while we wait? Or are we going to be upset? Because the same amount of time is going to pass. And so it's better to have joy in the midst of those times. And, and I love what you said about, that positive mind looks for the positive things. And then the negative mind looks for negative things. Like that's really cool. Like a really huge perception shift.
Right. Yeah. So let's master that together.
Okay.
Right. So, because I'm always up for difficult, challenging things. And I think that one of the most difficult and challenging things that we all have as humans is our thoughts and our mindset and beliefs. So if we know that's the core of where everything is created from, then we should focus on mastering that because that has the future we desire, that has the success we believe in. All of that is really in our mind and in our heart. And so let's go all in, man. Let's make that like shift to where, we're able to, and the biggest thing for me is make a positive impact in others because it's better to give than to receive. And I get so much joy out of helping other people. I just love it.
Yeah. It's a gift. It really is a gift to be able to help other people.
Yeah.
And I think that empowering people to change their mind is huge. And it's nothing new, it's nothing, we're not reinventing the wheel here. And there's people who have done it before us. And what does it say? No longer conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you can test and see what God's will is, his good and pleasing perfect will, which I think is super cool because that kind of gives you a blueprint for transforming your mind. It's like, stop going with the ways of the world and look to God and see what God is saying about all of this because it really is, it's a rat race and a trap and it traps your mind and setting your mind free comes on so many different levels. I feel like, and truly having a free mind, it's like you experience this like deep bliss when you're like, I'm free of worries from the past. I'm free of worries from the future and I'm totally caught up in the present moment. I think it's such a nice place to be. I think that's when we stop really like our body gets out of that like fight or flight mode. You know what I mean? And it's kind of in that resting mode. And I want to encourage whoever's listening to this, if you're seeing the news and you're seeing all this stuff, I'm speaking to myself with this at all, to really pause and give yourself a break in seeing all of it and center yourself and stop being in this like nervous system mode of like having to, like you're being attacked by a bear.
Yeah, like it's all going to end tomorrow. But it can be scary with all these different events going on in the world. But I think that you have to disconnect. Right. I think that we can get so focused in on these different events that are happening that all we're thinking is, well, if this happened, then it's going to be World War
This.
III, and then it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Listen, World War I came, World War II came. We had so many incredible, crazy events, the Great Depression, and we made it through it,
Yeah.
right? And so, but yeah, I just think that's why it's so important just to focus on God and just know there's a scripture verse, and I can't remember exactly what it says, but it says, 1,000 may fall on your left and 10,000 on your right, but you will not be harmed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the belief and the faith that I have in God. Is like everything can be crumbling around us, but He's going to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to keep us safe. And it's, people could be like, oh yeah, watch something going to happen to you. But I would rather go out believing God is going to protect us and trust us than doubting Him.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like it postures yourself when you're in a space of belief
Mm-hmm.
to have joy and hope for the future.
Right.
And we all really need to have hope for our future.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that our children are going to be safe and that they're going to have a life of joy and abundance and goodness, have a better life than what we've had. I think that becomes a deep-seated hope once you become a parent, or even if you're an auntie or an uncle or whatever, that we have hope for the future. I think is such it's a grounding space to believe in.
Yeah.
So, go outside and touch some grass.
Yeah.
Believe that God's got your back, right?
Disconnect. Well, you said it one time where we're like, if we didn't have all this technology and we weren't all connected, you'd be gardening in your backyard, raising your family, getting ready for dinner, right? And you would just be in a world of peace, right?
Don't you worry about a thing, right?
Yeah.
So good.
Exactly. So.
Okay, do you have one more topic?
I was just going to talk about perspective and mastering our mindset, and then just how all things work out for the good for those who love God. So that's just kind of what was put on my heart.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I'm super grateful that we're on episode 12. And then
I had something.
Go for it.
I wanted to touch on doubling down on your commitments and your goals. I know a lot of people in the spiritual community know that we're still in winter, but spring is coming. And so if we continue to double down on the things that God has put on our hearts and we believe that we're supposed to create, even if it's daily little things, daily little check marks that we can do, I think it's really good for our brain and our mental capacities to do the things that we say we're going to do, because it helps us to build confidence in ourselves. And I think that when we have confidence in ourselves, it postures us to be in a better place as a parent, as a leader, as a spouse, as a friend. And I think that it's really important that I've gone for like big goals in my life, and I really, really like that. And for right now, my intention is to create like a lifestyle that I really love, that feels really good, and I feel really healthy in, that I feel really wealthy in and abundant, and that I feel really strong in my body. And then if you can create those little daily practices every single day, that your 90-year-old self will look back at and be like, man, I started doing this, 60 years ago or something. And it's something that just like carries you into your future and creates this really beautiful rhythm of your life, that every day you have that certainty that you are going to fulfill your commitments, because quite frankly, we obviously can't control everything that's going on around us. Everything that's coming towards us, we can't control, but everything that's coming within us and being pushed out from us, we can control. Yeah. We have 100% of control of what's going on in here.
Yep.
And so that mindset shift, doing those daily things that bring you joy and make you happy and make you a better person, a more confident person in yourself, you make the world a better place. And I think that's what we're all called to do.
Another thing too that I was just thinking about, and I think it's really important, but it's subtle and sometimes unnoticed. And we all are human, so we all do these different things, right? But when I, and this was years ago, found myself getting jealous of somebody who was doing something right?
Oh, uh-huh.
And I wasn't doing, but it was weird because God revealed it to me about how that's going to prevent my success in relationships in the future if I see other people doing something and I allow that emotion of like envy.
Yeah.
And he said it's so dangerous.
Very
And so
dangerous.
he put it on me. And so then Katie and I are somebody who we always love when we see people, whether we know them or we don't know them, succeeding
We
or
are
not
woo
even
girls.
going, yeah, or whatever it is, pursuing something that they're passionate about.
They love to
I
do.
love it. It
Me too.
inspires me. But most people out there will get envy and they won't like it and they'll want people to fail. But God showed me that only does damage to the individual that feels that envy and stuff like that. And so if you feel that or you catch that at any point, remember you're deferring or you're preventing opportunities, you're preventing success, and you're preventing the vision that God has given you for your life to unfold.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but God just told me to share that real quick.
Yeah, and there's a metaphysical remedy for that. So if you're starting to feel envy, you can say, God will do for me as he has done for them. So God, if you see something that you're inspired by and that you love, you go, oh, God will do for me as he has done for them. Okay. And it kind of gives you this hope that you don't have to magnify them, but you can magnify God in your life and what he will create for you.
That's
and,
good.
And I think, when you're younger, you kind of start with like your likes and your dislikes, and you start to create like, oh, I don't want that, but oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And so you kind of go through this like weeding out process of life of the things that you love to have or you don't want. And so just remember, God will do for me what he has done for them. And just repeat it over and over again. And I think that'll help your mindset feel so much better.
I love that. That is awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Thank you, Francis Scoville Shin.
Yes.
And Jesus, the master metaphysicist.
Yep.
Right?
So, but awesome. Well, I always like to share this. We have a free download to discover what you're passionate about and your purpose. And it's awesome. I would take the time. I saw another thing where
it gives you a discount code to get any No Idea merch that you've been eyeballing.
My favorite so far are the walking and answered prayer tees.
Yes.
I love those so much just because with my sobriety, actually March 3rd of this year will be 3 years of sobriety, which is awesome. So but I always think about what God has brought me through when I see that walking and answered prayers, because it's so true. Every day that we wake up, we could have had an accident in the past or was really sick, whatever it is. When we get to wake up the next day, I think we're walking in answered prayers.
So glorious. I have a question for you. So we went to church today and we were in praise and worship, and God was giving me, it was so wild. It was like this montage of my life since I had been saved, of him showing up and me in these like certain moments of like surrendered prayer with him. 10 things flashed through my mind like really quickly. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, it has. Now, I would have to think about it, but yes, I have had times where I saw a montage of things flash before me.
It was wild.
I was in San Antonio, Texas, and I was doing a dive off Russian swing, and I thought I was going to drown. Yeah. And I literally started to see a montage of my life. I even saw a newspaper article that says, performer dies in show.
I remember
and
that.
It had a picture of you. It was crazy.
Because
so
they wear these hoods, and we were in a show, and it was like a dive show at night, right? And so there's all these flashing lights. So it goes up over his head, and it's like this fabric, and you're underwater.
It's all zipped up. And so when I went in the water like this, the water pulled it all the way down to here. And so I thought the hole was back here. So I'm pulling it more down, and I can't find it. And I'm underwater for like a minute or two. And I'm just like, oh gosh. And then I calmed myself and I said, there is a hole. That's where your face was.
Yeah.
Find it. So I just got real calm and I found it, pulled it off.
That was your mom's voice coming in. You're just like your tone, just sounded just like her. That's so scary.
Yeah, crazy. So
wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 12 We love it. We love this time where I think it's important that if you're able to shine light for anybody who's coming in the path that you're walking.
Yep.
And that's what we feel like this is. And we're just so grateful for this time. So
Yep.
we're sending you all our love. Go check out www.noideanetwork.com and get a little discount when you do our free download. So thank you so much.
And also, this is the first week of February in 2025.
Crazy.
Make it happen. Grind hard. Stay humble. Let's get it.
And know that we believe in you.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe even
Absolutely.
if you don't believe in you just yet, we believe in you.
Yep.
So wonderful.
Awesome. We do that every time.